doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us here on what ordinarily is a magnificent Monday, and we're going to have an excellent program, excellent company with our, if you may say, a wonderful member for Northside, member of the Legislative Assembly, Mr. D. Ezra Miller. As you go to the break, sir, good afternoon to you. Thank you for sharing the afternoon. I know you join me in extending, a serious sense of sentiment to those who are still in traffic, some still trying to get to work. So we're going to go and hopefully engage, and you'll enjoy the discussion. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for joining us. 949-8037 or toll free at 1-800-534-8255. And you can WhatsApp 925-3261. Again, a special good afternoon to Mr. Ezra Miller. And I say this to you personally, but to you and your colleagues. We are very grateful. I guess I can say this on behalf of all of us in the media for being able to have this level of access to our certain members of the Legislative Assembly to be able to ask, to engage directly, and allow the public likewise. So thank you, sir. How was your weekend? How was the day so far?
Well, my weekend was supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Spell that for me.
You would have to make things difficult.
Yeah, of course.
When I was in high school, and I always figured out how a good secretary. I just say it and write it down. Didn't know how to be good at spelling. But I certainly have a lot of empathy for the people that are being affected by the fire at the dump. It's amazing that this is the dump that many of those people who want the opportunity to remediate it and everything else, and they couldn't mine it to reduce the size, was because it couldn't burn. You remember? Exactly. But it is so unfortunate. But this boils right down to, this is just plain incompetence on the minister responsible and his whole civil service staff. Because what was it now? Nearly 3 years ago, we tendered. We had 3 people tender. No successful announcement was made about that. But we understood that they were negotiating a deal with one of those tenders, and that the price had escalated substantially, which is why we had to provide money in the budget this year to some 25 plus million to remediate the Georgetown dump and cap it. And I thought, I was of the view that that was part of the original proposal to deal with solid waste. So this is outright incompetence in the government. I mean, they should have had this thing dealt with now easily.
Mr. Miller, if I may, and I first off will apologize because I don't want to impose on you, but one of the things that I think many of us have come to expect, and perhaps one of the things that maybe of all the things, one of the things that we appreciate the most, you're candid, you're very direct. It's no vitriol, there's no disrespect, it's just direct. And today in particular, now I tried, hopefully, as I try to keep, Miss Norman informed as to my whereabouts, as it were, realizing what is happening, realizing how difficult I can either sit in traffic or I can sit in traffic and try to be productive. When I was on the phone, I was hands-free. So for anybody see me, my mouth moving, I wasn't talking to myself, my hands, but I'm trying to get stuff. So would you guide me? A number of people are calling. I managed to see some of the videos that was sent, then through the night and then early this morning then. And a few things were shared. The first thing was a comment, sort of an analogy to, is it Mr. Bloomberg, one of the candidates, I think, in the U.S. election.
Yeah.
He was on TV one evening, a short little piece, and he spoke about, the leadership of the country needs to be this and this, and if it's not that, then this is the challenges. And the person said, watch this. It's only less than a minute, I guess. I'm not sure how long it was. It didn't seem very long. And then they wrote their epistle. And he said, if you substitute him and put in anybody else from Cayman, take out his reference to his opponent or his, and then you substitute our people. It's the same thing in terms of what you want a leadership. And then they shared further that when you look at the dump and you look at the port, both are important, but is one more important than the other? And
one of the things that, if I'm privileged to lead the next government, we have to set priorities. We can't do everything. But those priorities should be set on data and evidence, and the solution to the problem should be based on that same data. But then somebody has to take responsibility to get these things done. I'm young enough to remember when you went to a civil servant for whatever, whether it was to get your passport renewed or to pay your $10 hate tax or whatever. They solved the problem for you. They dealt with the issue. They did not simply say, "I'll send an email, come back in a week." Even if you, I can remember people of the caliber of Sir Vassell and Mr. Dennis Foster. If you went to them with big time application like Mr. Dennis, for instance, to get your passport or to get your Cayman status regularized, and you didn't have a T cross or an I dotted, they would say to you, "Well, I can hear Mr. Foster now. Well, my son, this is not quite right, but let me fix it for you," right? And he fixed it there, then you initial it, and the job was done. What we have now is that there seems to be almost a culture of no responsibility, therefore no accountability. And, well, what do you mean I didn't do my part? As well, I sent an email to somebody, but did you follow up? If you are, I'll give you a live example. We applied for the non-profit status for the Cayman Islands People's Party a month ago. We get an email, right, after 4 weeks, right, to say that they needed to know what the D in my name stood for. Right? I mean, come on, man. But when you hand something like that in, right, those are the kind of things that you check right then, because I signed my name, D. Ezra Miller, because my son goes by Dennison, right? And he signs his name, Dennison E. Miller. Has to match the mind. I have my passport certified, right? Yeah. Has to match the thing, right? And but so we're a month behind now in getting that done, which pushes back getting your bank accounts and everything done at the bank. There's no excuse for that kind of incompetence, man.
I hear you. I hear the frustration, but with respect, sir, I've seen that public and private sector, increasingly in the private sector, the things that you could do before initials, for instance, even though the person at the end, has the information, is it then that, if we can speak to the public sector initially, is it then that, as has been alleged, that the juniors in the public sector are fearful of the seniors, who are even more fearful of their seniors, elected or appointed, so they're like trying to anticipate, preempt?
Well,
is
that culture of fear breeds is inactivity. Because if I don't do it, if I send it to you for you to do it, you can't blame me for the thing,
Yeah, but
right?
okay.
So, and that culture has to be reversed rapidly.
So instead of initiative, inactivity.
Right.
Instead of okay.
But I mean, here's something like having a form completed correctly, or having the required documentation with the form, should be decided by the person at the point of presentation and at the same time, not 30 days later. You know?
But then is that then? And I'm mindful that there are many. If I say something a certain way, can misconstrue. Now I'm hopeful then, not that stupid enough to not be willing to be accountable for what I say. I should be responsible. I respect that. But it's not at this stage the intent to castigate normal line. But to your point, perhaps today is evident of the frustration that some may feel because some time ago they say, see, I told you so. See, you close the road. There's a one way in and out. It's not just preserving the road for whatever that means, but it means now, God forbid, this was something even more severe and people couldn't get. It wasn't just
what if the bridge had collapsed in the earthquake?
Sir,
you'd have been the boats would have had full employment, getting people from West Bay to Georgetown for months.
Yeah, and then what if it was something that now, because of threat to life, people can't get to those who need rescuing, or those who are being rescued can't get to the health facilities.
And you know the sad part about that, giving up the original West Bay Road, was that it wasn't necessary for the developer to get it, But whatever Uncle Dart asks for, Uncle Dart gets. You know, the two roads could have existed, and his development could have existed around the two roads. Even if they did what they did in some parts of South Sound, if there was a slight diversion inland to allow more beach property. But you know, the whole idea of most places protect their beach by building on the other side of the highway.
Yeah. So this has been said to me just today alone. Now, last 5 hours. So what? We're about 12:30 now. So easily in the last 5 hours, a number of people have said something similar to this. And I'm not quite sure how to say it, because every time I heard it, it came out to be even more and more politically charged. But the premise is that we're pointing fingers, and we need to point fingers at the leadership, both within the government.
I started out saying that this is nothing sort of incompetence by the minister. It is the minister responsible for DEH who has the authority to fix this stuff.
Right. But can I ask?
And you can't explain to me who likes to get things done and who understands administration and responsibility and accounting and has some substantial training in it, that you are the minister responsible, and you're sitting back, right, for close to 3 years while some deal which was tendered is being negotiated.
Right. But then can I say it this way then? Can I ask it this way? Because I did respond to one of the people who shared it. Respectfully, maybe the minister. But what about the Premier and the Cabinet? And then what about the rest of, with great respect, the rest of the other 19 elected people? There is no commentary.
Well, you have to separate the Legislative Assembly, the way authority is distributed, and responsibility.
Yes, sir.
The joining together of the CDP and the PPM,
the party of political convenience,
to create a government which they call the unity government. And I can tell you one thing: their unity has been demonstrated very effectively in the last 2 weeks in silence. So they form the government because they're the majority. They enable an executive, which is called a cabinet, which runs the country. The only thing that us on the other side can do, we have no authority to make them do anything because they're the majority. What we can do is through questions, which these days never get answered, because we want to meet Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday now, you know. Right? For some reason, that's it. We must be all.
So you got 3-day work week.
Cinderella shoes, and that 3-day work week is usually every couple of months.
Right.
Questions, motions, statements, come on shows like this and try and agitate and embarrass them into activity, right? But it is that group, right? But you see, if we had this is why I'm trying to structure the Cayman Islands People's Party this way, you know. Because the electoral district committees in each of the 19 electoral districts is where the political power, the political authority, the political responsibility is going to lie through participatory democracy. If we had those 19 electoral district committees established now, every one of those that was represented by the People's Party would have had to, before now, go and meet with that committee and tell them what their position is on the Speaker's behavior and make a public statement on it.
Okay.
Because the Constitution allows, if they don't do that, right, they don't come to those people, members of that committee. That committee has the authority to remove them from the party and put somebody else up against somebody in the next election.
Okay.
Now, we can't take them out of the Legislative Assembly, but I think that
We'll be telling.
threaten will be telling, and you would have a hard time ignoring that.
Right.
Because you can't explain to me how all those parliamentarians on that side can sit back in deafening silence and not take a public position on what's going on, other than the one paragraph statement that was issued by the Premier, I assume, on their behalf.
Yeah. Silence is acquiescence in the sense then.
Well,
Okay, let's pause, take a break. Could we ask of you, if you would, in addition to talking about all the other things, and hopefully, not allow us to get too far afield, but be guided by the opportunity to speak to sitting members of the Legislative Assembly, to you in particular with your humility, integrity, but also the candor. Talk about the People's Party at some point.
Yep.
All right, we're going to pause and take a break. Give Ms. Susan a little bit less headaches. We'll see. Maybe not. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Puritan Cleaners.
Puritan Cleaners, serving the Cayman Islands for over 60 years. Now offering 12% off ladies and gents wearing apparel, $20 and up prepaid, or 10% off pickup within 7 days. All household items standard 10% off prepaid. This offer good at all our stores until further notice. Savannah Countryside, Elgin Avenue, Georgetown, Eastern Avenue, Georgetown, 949-7104. Drive through, rain or shine. A great special. You feel good when you look good.
Members of the public are invited to attend community meetings this week to discuss the coronavirus preparation. The meetings will be held on Tuesday, 10th March at 7 p.m. at the Mary Miller Hall, Red Bay, and Thursday, 12 March at 7 p.m. at the Civic Center in Bodden Town. The meetings will be hosted by the Minister of Health, the Honorable Dwayne Seymour, Honorable Premier Alden McLaughlin, with Ministry of Health and Public Health officials, as well as other key stakeholders. The meetings will also be broadcast live on Radio Cayman. Again, members of the public, you are invited to attend community meetings this week to discuss COVID-19 preparations in the Cayman Islands. Tuesday, 10th March at 7 p.m. at Mary Miller Hall, Red Bay, and Thursday, 12 March at 7 p.m. at the Civic Center in Bodden Town.
At Canine Resort and Spa, your dog gets the red carpet treatment. That's why people trust us and pets love us. Offering doggy daycare, boarding, training, and grooming services for any breed, size, or style. From head to tail, we'll make your dog smile.
Choose from 4 grooming packages, from the basic bronze package of a hydrobath, shampoo and conditioner, wash and blowout, to the platinum package including spa services like a doggy massage and berry facial. Canine will help your pet look picture perfect. Receive a loyalty card where your 6th grooming package is free. Limited availability.
Visit canineresort.com for details on grooming packages, doggy daycare, and resort services. Canine Resort and Spa, where the posh dogs go.
Preventing dengue is as simple as preventing mosquito bites. Use a mosquito repellent, wear protective clothing, and stay indoors during early dawn and dusk when mosquitoes are most active. Control the places around you where mosquitoes breed. Remove stagnant water in outdoor and household settings. As a weekly habit, persons should change the water in vases, clear the water in saucers under potted plants, and ensure air conditioner drip trays are free of stagnant water. Outdoor objects capable of holding water should be kept empty and preferably disposed of or put into dry storage if not used. These include open bottles and tins, watering cans, buckets, empty paint tins, and old vehicle tires. Do your part to control the spread of dengue. The dengue virus is an infectious disease transmitted through mosquito bites. Symptoms may come on as early as 4 days or as late as 3 weeks following an infection. There is no vaccine or specific medication to treat dengue. Symptoms of dengue include high fever, headache, pain behind the eyes, joint and muscle pain, and rash. If persons have any of these symptoms, they should go to the nearest health center or hospital. It is advised to drink lots of liquids and avoid medication that contains aspirin.
Talk today. but I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for calling, and thank you, Quilly, for allowing us an opportunity to sort of set the stage as we have the excellent company of MLA for Northside, Mr. Ezra Miller. So we certainly have a couple of callers trying, and as we get them connected up, if I can pay attention to Miss Susan and she tells me there, we'll pick up the caller. But if I could, though, well, let's do the call first. Okay. Good afternoon, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon, Sterling.
Good afternoon. How are you today?
I am very thankful and highly blessed and listening very, very keenly.
Thank you for listening, Mama. Always
Good
can count on you.
afternoon, Mr. Miller.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mom. And notice on the best, we always greet each other first, and we know ourselves is kind of left like an afterthought, you know, but that's okay. I love you the same way.
No, Mr.
I know. I know.
He's a little horse, you know.
Hey, the little horse. Oi.
But Mr. Miller
Yes, Mom.
and Mr. Sterling.
Yes,
I'm
Mom.
not Mr. Sterling, no.
Okay, Mom.
Listen, Sterling. Back to Sterling. Listen.
Yes, Mom.
Was it the 28th of February that Mr. Loxley and all the doctors there, was it also the Minister of Health and all that other stuff there too?
I
Can't remember.
no, it was the last Friday. It was at the 20th. I want to check my calendar just to make sure.
The 20th of February when
Yeah.
it.
Right. Yeah.
The minister was right?
Yes, Mom. Well, was he there that day? He was there maybe the one time before too, but yeah, the culture.
No, he was there.
Well, I believe you.
He was there the time I'm talking about.
Yes, Mom.
That I left my number with Susan for him. What was it Susan or so with somebody I left the number with her. But listen, I said it, you know, that he has my number, but I have to leave it with whoever was there then.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Listen good to this now. He is so busy. He is so busy with everything else besides the health. At least not in my territory. Mr. Miller, are you hearing me clearly?
Listening very carefully.
Listen good now.
Making notes too.
Me too. I love the pen and the paper.
Not because I write and I'm not listening.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. I do the same thing. The brain getting kind of old, you know. And here, you know, today what day? The 9th?
Yes, Mom. The 9th, yep. The year is going really, really fast.
And not only that, I got so many 69 too.
Amen.
The 9th, the 18th will be my birth night. Come on, I was born tonight.
Oh, okay.
But not last night.
Not last night.
Okay. Ay.
I didn't know. I didn't born talking. But I can talk.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that. So let me get back to that Minister of Health now. So get a Mr. Health and Housing. Not about the rest, because you can't receive no way. Every time I call, you know, I'm talking about way back from 2018 now, you know. April the 10th, 2018, I called in a meeting. That's a little short text message. I can't text, you know, but I can delete them if I need to delete them, okay? That says what I need to say. Now on May the 28th, May the 22nd, April and May now, 2018, in a meeting still. The man know me. He know me, period. He know me personally. The last time I got to speak to him, remember when they put Sterling put on the wall up on top of the put the heart. I can say on the on the way on the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
The little heart thing up on the HSA, right?
Yes, Mom.
Wall. After that, me and him talk. Okay, sitting down closer by the pharmacy. Yeah. He can get to me. I didn't check down what date what month that was and what year that it was and all of that. But you know when that happened about the war. The wall and
yes, Mom. Yes, Mom.
Yeah. Oh, he ain't get to me. Not got to me yet. Didn't call me yet either after that day that I left a number for him. Okay? But it's some serious things that I need to talk to him about.
Well, keep pressing on. Hopefully, you'll get there.
No, I'm going somewhere else now.
Okay.
Mr. Miller,
Yes, ma'am.
I got to try something else now.
Yep. Time to try something else, yeah.
Time to try something else, right? But when I say that, I mean I'm going upstairs.
Yep.
You got me?
Well, if you don't get results at one level, you're not going to go into the level below. You got to go to the level above.
You got to go as high as you can.
Yep.
And that's only 2 floors up. Anyway, it is so disappointing. It's a disappointment. Sterling, mean your word and my word corrupting. Mr. Miller, did you hear that word, corrupting?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, me Sterling made that one there. because
I guard against it daily and nightly, even while I'm sleeping.
God. Oh, Mr. Miller, I have some nightmares sometimes. but I wake up fine.
All right. Yes,
but I
ma'am.
wake up fine.
Thank God.
So that I can leave on here.
Okay.
Okay.
I
Thank you very much.
Get through to him, but
yeah. God bless, man. Thank you very much.
Okay.
You know, but that is perhaps the challenges that across the country that we're facing, and you talked about responsibility and accountability, leadership, and the notion, but it's a changing face within the country as well. How do we move forward? You talk about the People's Party that put in,
but I think it is fairly obvious to the general voting public that unless you are on the inside of the political party, there's no trickle down. You know, you only occasionally get the opportunity to complain, but you're never given the opportunity to participate or to influence the decision. While as those people here who operate their political action committees and make their donations and how they bake cocktail parties and all those sorts of stuff, they're constantly influencing what's happening in the country. So what we are trying to do with the People's Party is to develop a new mechanism which gives every Caymanian the opportunity to participate in the governance of the country. And we do that by establishing electoral district committees in each of the electoral districts. That is, and each one of those electoral districts will send 3 people to form a general council, right? The 3 people that they send are the chairman of the district committee, the candidate, whether he is successful sitting in the LA or not, and a member from the floor, a delegate. The reason for the third person is that the Constitution prohibits 2 things. Again, to allow diversity of authority and devolution of authority. Politicians can't hold any office in the administrative structure. You can't be chairman of the Central Council. You can't be chairman of the district committee. No person is allowed to hold office at the district committee level and at the Central Council. So you can't be the chairman of the Northside District Committee and chairman of the Central Council. So those officers for the Central Council will have to be elected from amongst the delegates who are not officers, right? And we also have permission in the Constitution to appoint 5 elderly people who can bring experience and advice and knowledge to the whole process.
so this would be in addition to the others.
But
So
to
s-
the other 57, and we also have the chairman of the People's Party Youth Arm, right, which we're in the process of establishing now through some students at UCCI. So if you have a problem at your electoral district level, the committee will discuss it, get a recommendation, which your chairman takes to the Central Council. All the members who sit in the Legislative Assembly are part of the Central Council by virtue of being one of the 3 people that is sent to the form Central Council. So they would be there. The Central Council collectively would make a decision on what is the best solution to that problem, and then the parliamentarians would take it forward in terms of the executive arm of government, et cetera, implement it. Equally so, vice versa. Whatever solution is developed in the civil service and a legal environment around that problem would come back down to the Central Council, to the electoral district committees for the people to discuss it and have knowledge of it, right? Which is why one of the things that I would like to see change, and if I am privileged to be the next preparer, I can commit now to the people that would happen, is that the Legislative Assembly would be meeting at least one day every month, right? And bills would no longer be passed. We would not longer be passing 40 laws in 3 days, right? One day of which is supposed to be dedicated to backbench opposition day. Now, so that I would like to see bills being presented take at least 3 to 4 months to go through the process, because we get the first reading, stimulates debate. The next month, we do the second reading, which is the debate, so the public hear that. The committee on the bill, where would be allowed to be changes, is not heard until another month, so that the district committees, the public has an opportunity to put input, not only the people in the district committee, but all stakeholders, right, who have an interest in whether vested or not in that particular item, would have an opportunity to contact their MLA, whether they be in the People's Party or not, and make representation to make certain changes to the bill. So then in the third month, you would get the committee on the bill, and then in the fourth month, you would get the final reading that would be passed into law. Right? That is in fact beyond the 28 days that the constitutional changes requires the bill to be published before it's presented to Parliament. And in that 28 days, if I am the Premier, I would expect the Minister to take that law and that project nationwide in town hall meetings to talk to the people, to stimulate discussion. We have to get away from this idea that because we're elected, we know best, right? Because I always tell the story of my friend, Carl Plato, who managed the Lutheran Hospital in 1,000-plus bed Lutheran Hospital in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And he invited me to his board meeting when we were doing governance. He was my professor teaching me governance. And he had a very unique boardroom. It was no tables, no chairs. The agenda was written on the wall, right? And you stood up and you got all the decisions, and then you go next door and you had everything in the world that you could think about, a whole smorgasbord. But he had a farm on his board, right? And I asked him one day, in my youthful exuberance, well, Mr. Carl, why do you have, we'll call him Farmer John, on your board? He says, Mr. Miller, there are times when Farmer John can make all of those lawyers and accountants and professors you see sitting around that board look stupid. And we what built Caymanian, right, was Caymanian common sense, Caymanian initiative, Caymanian entrepreneurship. We've gotten away from all of that now. The only thing this government seems to be interested in is inward investment to take advantage of Caymanians. My argument is we're way beyond that now. What we need to do is provide long-term money locally so that Caymanians can sponsor our development going forward and not expect it to be somebody who come in with, just because they have a couple of $100 million and they invest $10 million in Cayman and we give them $9 million in concession, so they won't invest in $1 million and they make $10 million profit on the $1 million investment, they go home. So what I'm trying to engender is much more participation in the process of governing, and that's, that's what I've always practiced.
Right. So we'll just pause quickly, sir. Take a short break. Come back with join some callers. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
ValueMed Pharmacy is your community care partner for health and wellness needs. We offer convenient prescription processing at the counter and online at value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com, with pickup available at the Walkers Road or Boddentown location. We also accept transfer prescriptions from other pharmacies. More than just a pharmacy, shop ValueMed for personal care and beauty products from trusted brands, perfume and gift sets, Hallmark and greeting cards, baby clothes, footwear, handbags, swimwear, home decor, toys, school supplies, and stationery. And home convalescence aids like wheelchairs, walkers, crutches, canes, and hospital beds. With 2 locations to serve you, Walkers Road in Georgetown and in Evron Plaza, Boddentown. Visit ValueMed, more than just a pharmacy.
Radio Cayman News.
It's just gotten really big. There's black smoke covering the roads. You can see it from all over Georgetown.
I'm working with RCIPS to assist with evacuation.
School will resume once the fire has abated and the smoke is no longer a hazard.
I would like to commend all of the emergency services who have been involved in battling the landfill fire.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
It's the 8th annual Dress for Culture Day on Friday, March 13th. Celebrate Cayman's multicultural community by displaying your homeland pride and cultural dress. Your Dress Up, Dress Down donation of just $5 per adult and $3 per student goes towards the National Cultural Foundation's youth programs. Visit the @Cayman Culture Facebook and Instagram pages for more information on how you can win a prize for showing your national pride. Open to all schools, businesses, and individuals. Dress for Culture Day, part of K-Fest 2020, brought to you by CNCF. Email cncf@artscayman.org or call 949-5477 for more information.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. In the studio, MLA, Mr. Can I say D. Ezra Miller?
Yeah.
You want to tell us what D stands for?
Again,
I'm just teasing you, sir. Forgive me. My jovial approach doesn't mean there's any disrespect. We do have some calls online, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Get a good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for calling. Hello, good afternoon. Afternoon, sir. How are you?
How about yourself?
Very, very thankful. Thank you for sharing.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
I'm fine as silk, man. Fine as silk and tough as brown cotton. And I know you know what brown cotton is.
Oh, yeah, I know what that is. How did you enjoy the firework display last night?
Well, it's disappointing and it's dangerous, but at least you know you can burn now.
You know, Mr. Miller, it never seems to amaze me. This is the third time now that I have experienced something like this happening. And what will it take?
Well, that's my point. You know, I mean, we know what we need to do, and we just need to get on and do it. You know, if we had spent half the amount of time developing solutions and implementing it for the garbage as we have spent on an unnecessary cruise pier, right? We would have had that solved a long time ago.
You don't think we should forget about the dump and just build a dock for the cruise ships?
No.
I mean, which one is more important?
To me, it's the dump. Absolutely.
I mean, geez, that Shelburne from East End that died many years ago knows that should be the first thing you deal with, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The hell with the cruise ship. You see what they're offering us now?
Yeah.
Do we need that? No, we don't.
Yep.
Mr. Miller, question. Is there anything can be done about the licensing department with this backup with the log that they have with the issuing license plates that you cannot even see the numbers on them anymore? Apparently all their concentration is on right now is getting new plates. That means it seems like all they're doing is encouraging new vehicles.
Yeah, I'm in the same
and
position you're in. I can't get new plates on my truck. I have been waiting 3 years now for a new plate for my truck.
I've been waiting the same thing, but what can be done about it, Mr. Miller?
Well, we have tried everything from the back bench down in the LA. I mean, this whole implementation of these electronic bearing license plates has been one real fiasco, right? And somebody needs some heads need to roll for it. You can't explain it to me anymore that it's taking longer. And I heard you say this morning they tell you only got one person printing license plates. Well, go and hire somebody else now.
Exactly.
Get looking jobs.
Or just stop printing the license plate and pick up on the backlog you got with the ones that needs to be done. What's wrong with that?
But they should be able to chew gum and walk at the same time, you know? Can you two guys, one, taking care of the backlog, two, making new ones, you know? There are many solutions to it, and it's just plain, unadulterated incompetence. But the truth is, they don't care. They don't care.
I think we should build a dock and don't worry about the license plates. What do you think?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
But and the other thing, Peter, why in this day and age are we requiring 2 plates on your car?
I don't know. I don't know.
I'd say, listen, if you got all these plates and you say you normally cut them in half, and only put 1 plate on the car. And the camera can take the picture of the back bumper just as quickly as it can take a picture of the front bumper.
Well, 99.9% of the time, where does the police don't go in front of you because he's scared and run over him. He always in the back of you.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
You're absolutely right. Another thing while I'm at it, Mr. Miller, just remember that. What do you think about the speed limit in North Side? And whatever you said, I have no issues with it. What do you think about the 30-mile zone doing 35?
No, we need the 30-mile zone is okay. But the area that we need to reduce is from the entrance of the Botanic Park to Frank Sound to turn it to cover that area with the school and children playing in the Frank Sound area. But the problem, Peter, is enforcement. Nobody drives 30 miles an hour.
No, they don't.
Listen to me. I get tired of counting the cars. When I go into a trip to my mother's on a Sunday, I'm driving exactly 30 miles an hour. Every single car that pulls up by the dozens pull up behind my bumper overtake me as if I'm parked.
Mr. Miller, when I get in the 50-mile zone, what I do, the first thing I do is put my cruise control on, that I don't exceed that.
Yeah.
And when I get in the 30-mile zone, I set my cruise control also, and it's like I'm stopped. That's why I suggest in 35, because they pass me like, with no regards or no respect for the laws of this country, because I know 99.9% of them are not Caymanians.
Yeah. I have been trying to convince the NRA to actually put a 30-mile-an-hour sleeping policeman through the village of Old Man Bay. They can't because of the arterial road, but you can't be there all the time. But that'll slow them down, They're worrying about the big trucks and the ambulances. Well, they shouldn't be exceeding the speed limit either.
All right. It is respectful, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Mr. Miller, we've got the headline news at 1. We'll pause and then we'll join our callers. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio K-Man.
It's only 2 species that we have, in Wyoming.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice. For today's biggest news.
Access.
Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom team.
Today's biggest news.
I'm April Cummings with your latest headlines. Government says it is aware of reports the Caribbean Princess has been ordered back to the U.S. because 2 crew members may have been exposed to COVID-19. But say the ship anchored here today in order to offload 2 people who are critically ill with issues that appear unrelated to the COVID-19 outbreak. The Ministry of Health says the 2 passengers are being transported directly to the airport for medical evacuation to Florida, and all appropriate measures are being undertaken to ensure the safety of staff involved. In international headlines, federal and state officials in California prepare to receive thousands of people today from a cruise ship idling off the coast of San Francisco, with at least 21 people aboard infected with the coronavirus. Personnel covered in head-to-toe protective gear woke up passengers on the Grand Princess to check on whether they were sick. On land, fences were installed at an 11-acre site at the Port of Oakland, as authorities readied flights and buses to whisk passengers aboard the ship to military bases or their home countries for a 14-day quarantine. The more than 3,500 passengers and staff on the ship hail from 54 countries. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan visits Brussels today for talks with European Union officials amid a standoff between Ankara and Brussels over the sharing of responsibility for refugees and other migrants. Thousands of migrants have massed at Turkey's land border with EU member Greece after Erdogan's government made good on a long-standing threat, announcing it would no longer prevent migrants from crossing into EU countries. Turkey hosts more than 3.5 million Syrian refugees, and Erdogan has demanded that Europe shoulder more of the burden of caring for them. Those are your headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom. I'm April Cummings.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks for sharing with us. And in the studio, equally, a special thanks to our sitting parliamentarian, Mr. Ezra Miller. Respectfully, sir, we do have another caller online.
Sure.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. Good afternoon, Mr. Hazard.
Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon, sir. How are you today?
The honorable one. let me say this morning. I called in this morning to do the show, and I said that when I heard on the news about the traffic after this fire, and I said, well, I'm not going to leave home to go in till about 10:30 or so.
Mm-hmm.
So I left here in West Bay at 10:30 this morning, and I was going to the post office at West Shore Center.
Mm-hmm.
I got there at 11:30. The number of people, tourists, that I saw on the street with suitcases moving from one direction to the other, where they were changing hotels or what it was, but it was incredible.
They were trying to get to the airport. People called me and said they were trying to get to the airport to catch their flight.
Yeah, well, I was just listening to the news this morning, and it said there was two people on one of them cruise ships that they wanted to let them off to go to the airport so they could take them to Florida someday.
That wasn't my understanding. My understanding was that the cruise ship was coming in here. Nobody was getting off the cruise ship, but they were picking up test kits were going to be delivered to the cruise ship, and then they had to return to the coast of Florida to wait the results of the test.
Okay.
That was my understanding.
Okay, because I just heard the news before 2 minutes ago, and you guys went off the air. They were talking about something about these two passengers who were going to take them to the airport. So I don't know.
No, I wouldn't. I certainly would not recommend that we do that here.
No.
Well, our headline news just at one indicated that the two people who got off the ships got on the plane to be sent off sent to the U.S., but presumably not related to this this virus. So they got off. Hey, our news reported it just at one day, but I can't tell you no more than.
But that certainly was not what my understanding was this morning, and my question would be, well, why would we allow two people to get off, without proper testing? And if I certainly was on a flight and heard that they were going to be on my flight, I would raise my own concerns.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate because that I don't know. I mean, like I say, because of my understanding that there is some suspicious cases on the ship, I don't think anything has been confirmed to be the COVID-19, right? But, suspicion is good enough for me.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else you want to share with us, sir?
No, the point I wanted to make is that we have. I'm going to repeat this again. I talk about it on the radio or something. I don't think I spoke to Mr. Miller about it. But you remember that project that project that was given so much a parade about the the Ironwood project.
Yeah,
that was supposed to happen up in your area there, and there was some building golf course and the hotels and all that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was something like $20 or $25 million concession that was given to them before they even put one block in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and up till now, I think that was in 2012 or something, when they were talking about that so much.
Yeah, but when they get concessions like that, they don't get cash. They get jewelry and stuff removed off of material and things they bring in. So if they don't start, they don't actually get the concession. It's a negotiated position that they would get, which is ultra virus of the hotel aids law. And I have asked the government, how are they going to repeal this law? Because all this stuff they've been doing, giving DART all these concessions and giving other people on 7 Mile Beach concessions, is illegal.
I tell you, if something goes on here and nobody seems to bat an eye, because here's another thing that I wanted to mention to you. Now, when we got our last election, we were supposed to have a district council in West Bay. The 4 representatives we had, one being Mr. Bush. And I didn't think Mr. Bush should have been a representative of the people while if he was going to be the minister or be the Speaker of the House,
Mm-hmm.
there should be some conflict of interest there because he can't be, it doesn't look right.
Yep.
You see? What I'm saying is, and none of the other three ever talked about getting a district council. We have the spending, the new minister for education is talking about $740,000 for buses to take children from going one school to the other for a football game or something. I don't know exactly what it was that they're going to spend. But Beulah Smith School that was supposed to start in 2009 or somewhere down there hasn't had anything but a pile of marble dug overgrown with bush. These are the things that I say that when you hear me shouting on the radio and talking about stuff, I don't understand, because we, the people, should have at least a district council that we can coordinate or...
Come into your constituency soon, sir. Come into your constituency soon. I come in Westby on the 18th of March to hold a public meeting about setting up an electoral district committee in each one. Make sure you come to the meeting.
Oh, I'll be there.
All right.
All right, sir.
God bless.
Thank you very much, man. But is that one of the challenges then, that the electorate in particular, not just the general populace, but the voters, feel that there is no outlet, no avenue, not just to complain, but to contribute, to be able to maybe participate, to hold people accountable and the like?
The truth of the matter is, right now, there is none, other than those people who have their political action committees groups set up, and they do that through dinners and cocktail parties and all the rest of it. But the average Caymanian has no way of being consulted by the government on something that the government wants to do toward them or for them, using their money, public money, to do it with, nor do they have any direct access other than trying to visit one of the representatives when they have a constituent hour at their offices. So what we need, in my view, is we need a system that is set up that promotes, engenders public participation and encourages it, right? Listen, I don't have to tell you that Caymanians discuss everything under the grape tree, under the coconut tree, under the layers tree, right? on the front porch, in the living room. Yeah. So what we're trying to do is to put together at the local level where we can access those conversations, right? And get them to talk about solutions for governance as opposed to complaining about the solution.
Okay, then if I could ask of you, again, forgive me, but this is one of the other reasons I enjoy talking to you, because you're willing to be candid, put up an opinion, and almost, despite the respect that we have for you as the individual, but you are in the position, it's almost we're getting to learn and have a general conversation. But then isn't this then incumbent on us as the elected member to be available and accessible and provide, but also, and I would say this even more so with great respect, even more so on the voter for being engaged, for reaching out and, can I use the word demanding at times? We want a public meeting for signing let's use the word a petition of sorts, some sort of thing saying, hey, we're summoning you as the elected member to discuss this thing. We want to know what this thing is. It could be a piece of legislation that we hear is coming on the pipeline. It could be a government policy. It could be a proposed project. It could be whatever that thing is. But if the public isn't engaged in participating, I mean, we blame the MLA, but sometimes,
But sometimes, I agree, and one of the things that doesn't happen enough, in my view, is that the voters do not demand. I mean, when people start complaining to me about things, I say, well, when last did you talk to your representative? What do you mean? Because here's a system we have grown up around. 6 weeks, 2 months before an election, I decided to run in our side. So I called up a few friends. We set up a committee, right? And we decide how we going to win this election, how we going to get Ezra elected, right? And we go around, we do the campaigning, we win the seat. That committee, most of the times, is disbanded. And those same people who helped me get elected do not contact me on a regular basis. It happens to me because I encourage it and also, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't call me, I'll call them. But the rest of them, we forget about them, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we should be the ones that are saying, look, why is this happening?
Okay.
Everybody should be calling their MLA, particularly those who are on the government bench right now, and say, what are we doing about the dump?
All right. I want to ask you about that, right? Miss Susan reminds me I got 2 breaks. And sometimes I give her a hard time. Like, these breaks again? So we got 2 calls. Let's take one and then take the next one. I know. Yeah, she reminds me if we do those breaks, we know how to paycheck.
Right.
I just tease you. Good afternoon. Let's go to the phones. Welcome. Thank you for calling.
It's me again, Sterling.
Welcome back again, Mom.
Mr. Miller.
Twice in one day, that's getting dangerous now.
Yeah, but look,
there's a rumor going around, you know.
Mr. Miller, a couple of weeks, I came on 3 times.
I know. You can call 5 times if you want me.
I know. Sterling going to cut me off, you know.
No, ma'am.
Listen to me.
If he cut me off, I can stand up on his toe.
No, but listen to me. Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Miller.
Uh-huh.
That meeting on the 18th would be a very good birthday present.
Oh, yeah, well, I could be at that. We're trying to get the hall booked now, so the flyers will start coming out soon about it.
Somebody had come put on my door, no Sterling, no way to come.
Okay. I can send, but I gotta be careful of saying like he's so sorry about.
No, but that's okay. That's okay. He's one of the good ones.
All right, okay.
Listen to me, another thing. About calling your representative. Hello. You talk about wasting credit.
Yep.
Now
you see, if enough people did it, it wouldn't. They can single out one person who calls them on a regular basis, but if they start getting calls from dozens of people, it'll change.
Well, look out, Mr. Miller. Mr. Miller, I stopped calling because you know what happened? The last time I called, a certain one, like I say, I tell the other one to call me, and I'm gonna call you, you know.
I know.
I
don't feel bad. They do me the same thing.
Listen to me. It's a joke that Mr. Banks and Mr. Banks and Mr. McLean and all them they put on top of Dr. Roy Martin. You gonna call yet?
Yep.
How long ago that been now?
Yep. No. There's no excuse for that. I try not to do that. There are times when you call me and you won't get me, but I really try hard to return all the calls.
No, but I'm talking about that graduation thing that he was told that you soon better call. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He said, Mr. Boss, Dr. Roy Boss, he said, the one to call he coast boy.
Okay, Mom.
All right.
Okay. Yes, Mom. Thank you. And I'll joke and just aside. We do have another caller, sir. Speaking to MLA, Mr. Ezra Miller. Good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Dwayne, and your panel.
Afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
I got a couple of questions to ask. How many ministers the last couple of years that had the portfolio of health and DH and things like that?
Well, I think it was, if you go back to the last CDP, UDP government, it was Minister Mark Scotland, and then it went to Mr. Osborne Borden, and now it's with Mr. Wayne Seymour.
Mm-hmm. Was Anthony a minister?
That was before, that was going further back.
All right, good.
Yeah. I think he was the minister in the 2000, but even before 2000, I believe. Okay.
Well, my query is, with all of this dump fires, I hear people complaining all this morning and talking about it, but never heard one soul. And government not paying out the mind as far as they're concerned. The only thing they're worrying about is money waste on this dock. But that dump site can be avoiding a lot of these fires. Simple way. They can drill quite a few deep wells on that place and put a couple of high pressure pumps. And every now and then they wet that place down. And that would save a lot of this fire because, let me tell you something, in Cayman, after this one from starting to tell today, you're going to hear a lot of sick people. from that smoke and the stuff that's coming out of that dump. But what I got to say about it, and I just said I'm going to repeat it again, dig some deep wells around the place and put in some high pressure pump, and it's not going to cost $2 or $3 million to do that.
Right. Well, I appreciate that sentiment. Now, Mr. Miller, with that though, the idea of, as the caller shared, we as a country perhaps have not made that sufficient priority. Is it because there's so many other pressing and competing things that are so important, from roads to the port, whether the air or the cruise, to schools, to this? Is it that we're growing so rapidly? Is it that we don't have the focus of leadership on the things that are immediately important?
All about. I think if the government did a simple survey to decide what the priorities of the people were, right? As opposed to them sitting down in a little room up in the government administration building, surrounded by mahogany paneling, and saying, this is what we're going to do. I am pretty certain that the people would place the dump and the management of garbage, the pickup of garbage, the handling of the waste, very high on that list, right? And it is. The government cannot explain to me why we decided to spend money on the port, spend money on the airport, spend money on building roads going east over the solid waste management. Now, I believe that the resources of the country are such that we can do more than one thing at one time, right? But I would certainly like to see, and well, I think there was a recent press thing saying that remediation of the dump was supposed to start this month, if I recall.
Something recent, yeah.
But I think the government needs to explain to the people what has caused this delay from the time that the RFP tendering to fix the dump was completed, right? And I say this guardedly, right? The problem is not how do we fix the dump, you know. We knew a long time ago how to fix the dump. There's only 3 things you can do, right? Reduce the waste. How do we reduce it? You reduce it by recycling and reusing it, and by incinerating what's left. Now, if we're going to incinerate it and we have the opportunity to produce some electricity from the steam and some water from the steam, that to me that makes sense, right? But this plan was in place from 1990, right? And we had started. I bought 48 acres of land from Mr. Will Wallace Borden in Georgetown, next to the existing dump at that time, specifically to put the recycling, and we started the recycling process on, and to put the waste to energy stuff on. I put the first thermoplastic liner in the garbage dump in Little Cayman.
But what year was this, sir?
This was 1990, 91, 92. We were supposed, if I recall, and the person who
30 years ago?
Yeah, the person who could set and right or went wrong is Mr. Walling Whitaker, because he was hated at that time. But as I recall, we put the thermoplastic liner in Little Cayman. I think it was either late 91 or early 92. It was late 92, 93. It was supposed to be. They were supposed to begin in Kimmerenbrack, right? And by that time, we should have tendered here for the waste to energy, right? And all the consultants at that time told us that if we mined, while we didn't have enough garbage coming into the dump on a daily basis that could drive a big enough plant, waste to energy, to make it economically viable, right? We could mine the existing dump, and we could reduce the size of the existing dump by close to 90%, right? Now, why it was not continued, right? And why we've gone through several machinations of this, right? Can only be one reason, and that is that we were more concerned of who was going to do it than what was going to be done. Because what is being done now by the DART group, except for the mining of the existing dump, right, is exactly what was proposed by the plan that Mr. Whitaker and I developed with Post Brooklyn Schuler in 1990.
All right. So the group that you reference, if you wouldn't mind helping us to try to remember some of this. 2 things. That's a combination of three groups, the winner plus the other two. I mean, because just generally talking to people, there are misconceptions.
Well,
and
because
misunderstandings.
the truth is not known.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what happened. I understood that there were three people who put in a bid.
But you're a sitting parliamentarian, sir.
Well, we've tried, and I've even tried to get this information through the Public Accounts Committee.
But you were also the leader of the opposition at one point.
Yeah, well, we asked all the questions.
You
trust
don't know?
me. But the government don't answer, and I don't know.
Okay.
You're in the media, right? Explain you normally.
Yes,
Normally, the law requires that if you send out an RFP, you pre-qualify people, you get 3 tenders. The procurement committee has to meet and make its choice of those 3. Are you aware that was done? Certainly they did it in secret.
Okay.
What we heard on the Mar Road, right? Not the existing media house.
Not a digital one, but the original.
Right.
Okay.
And what the EIU reported to me was that there seems to be some combination thereof where certain companies dropped out and others combined with the Dart conglomerate.
Okay.
And then they then became a somehow that was engineered into becoming a
consortium, like,
you know, and more importantly, into a single source provider.
Okay.
And then what happened then was there was a protracted negotiation of what the RFP was supposed to require. And my information, and if I'm wrong, the minister can come on here tomorrow on your show and produce the documentation to tell it to prove me wrong, was that the big reason for the protracted negotiation was because the successful person who was negotiating this substantially increased their price. And when I'm talking about substantially, I'm talking my information is north of $25 million.
Tens of millions is what we were told.
Right.
Okay.
Now,
all right.
In this budget, we put those tens of millions in there to do remediation and capping of the existing facility.
Right.
Now, those money been in the budget from 1st of January. So why we are now in March and nothing has started?
Right. Can I ask of you?
Because certainly they should have known how it was going to be done, right? Who was going to do it before they put the figure in the budget, or the figure in the budget just an imaginary figure, and now we're trying to decide how it's going to be done.
Right. I'm trying to understand certain things, and then forgive me, I don't know how other people plan their weeks and their days. Sometimes I have a meeting schedule that is months out because of people's travel schedule and work schedule. Today's meeting was X with Y, Z, and R. And given what transpired, I don't know. I mean, I didn't know. I don't think anybody knew this was going to happen over the weekend to be what this is, right? So a lot of the discussion centered around infrastructure, the dump and the like. Not because they're from Europe, or not because they have certain qualifications, or they may have been involved in political operations, elected otherwise in other jurisdictions. But perhaps borrowing from that experience and expertise, you might be able to get some insight. Two sentiments were expressed, if I could, and I'll ask forgiveness if I say it improperly, but I'll also ask people to take it and find out a better way to make it even better. With respect to the dump, one said, well, the challenge is, do you remember 20 plus years ago, maybe now, when it was a $20 million project, maybe it was 30 years ago. Then it became 40 in last 10 years, and it was 60 million. And then sometime in recent memory, last couple of years, a sum was touted as $500 million, this we call. Now, that seems to be the recollection of some. I don't know if you heard that. The reference being that it isn't so much not knowing what to do, it's how to make this thing trickle to as many people so that it becomes a windfall without necessarily being. If that is the perception of the wider public, then that's an indictment against us. My takeaway as I drove in, sat in traffic, waiting, that doesn't look good on any of us.
No, it doesn't. And the problem we have is that all government projects, the longer you take to start them and complete them, the more money you go spend. The last concrete proposal that I saw was in 2003, 2004, to do everything for, I think it was around 45, 48 million. depending on whether they were going to take over the collection as well. Because I remember that part of that was that they were going to take over the collection and they were going to bring in garbage trucks from Volvo, and they were going to, but it would be leased, it wasn't sold, and they would be circulated out every 3 years, right? And if I recall that proposal, it was something like 5 years. They expected to recoup their money, and make a profit based on the use on recycling and waste energy. And at that time, they were talking, if I remember correctly, selling electricity to CUC for 7 cents a kilowatt. And at that time, I think the cost per kilowatt for CUC was somewhere around 12 cents. Right? So we could be getting a lot more now. Why that fell apart, I don't know.
All right.
But the problem we have is that we just need to get it done, right?
All right. Well, let's pause, take a final break. In this segment, we'll come back, we'll continue. We have another hour if you have it.
Yeah.
And we got callers to take, so stay tuned for Talk Today.
At Canine Resort and Spa, your dog gets the red carpet treatment. That's why people trust us and pets love us. Offering doggy daycare, boarding, training, and grooming services for any breed, size, or style. From head to tail, we'll make your dog smile.
Choose from 4 grooming packages, from the basic bronze package of a hydrobath shampoo and conditioner, wash and blowout, to the platinum package including spa services like a doggy massage and berry facial. Canine will help your pet look picture perfect. Receive a loyalty card where your 6th grooming package is free. Limited availability.
Visit canineresort.com for details on grooming packages, doggy daycare, and resort services. Canine Resort and Spa, where the posh dogs go.
If your business is over here, but your customers are over here, adding more yellow to your business will bring you both right here. With everyone searching yellows, print, online, and mobile app, getting your business noticed is easier than ever. Book your consultation today at findyellow.com.
Stay tuned.
Don't forget to tune in Monday through Friday for Radio Cayman's local evening sports report during the 6 p.m. news hour.
Taking a look at Radio Cayman's local sports, I'm Dion Anglin.
It is proudly brought to you by King Sports Center, providing your fitness, recreation, and relaxation needs.
Members of the public are invited to attend community meetings this week to discuss the coronavirus preparation. The meetings will be held on Tuesday, 10th March at 7 p.m. at the Mary Miller Hall, Red Bay, and Thursday, 12 March at 7 p.m. at the Civic Center in Bodden Town. The meetings will be hosted by the Minister of Health, the Honorable Dwayne Seymour, Honorable Premier Alden McLaughlin, with Ministry of Health and Public Health officials, as well as other key stakeholders. The meetings will also be broadcast live on Radio Cayman. Again, members of the public, you are invited to attend community meetings this week to discuss COVID-19 preparations in the Cayman Islands. Tuesday, 10th March at 7 p.m. at Mary Miller Hall, Red Bay, and Thursday, 12 March at 7 p.m. at the Civic Center in Bodden Town.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
I have various items coming from different suppliers that I need to ship to Cayman. Do you offer consolidation?
Yes, Seaboard Marine offers consolidation for full and less than container loads. We can hold your packages at our Miami warehouse until everything arrives and ship it all in one go. And we have the best rates to Grand Cayman. Visit seaboardmarine.com for more information.
Shipping shore to shore,
Imagine if we all practiced safe driving. Imagine if we all refused single-use plastic. Imagine if we all turned off lights when not in use. We can all do our part in making Cayman Islands safer, cleaner, and greener. Together, we can achieve. Visit gov.ky/safer, cleaner, greener to learn more.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you for joining us. And in the studio, MLA Mr. Ezra Miller is our guest. think if I pay attention to Miss Susan and she tells me there's callers online, we go to the phones. Right, Miss Susan? Let's try it. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you for calling. Hello, good afternoon. Afternoon.
Afternoon, Sterling. Afternoon, Mr. Miller.
Good afternoon,
Afternoon, sir. How are you today, my friend?
I'm not doing too bad. Interesting, but very serious conversation.
Yes, sir.
Certainly, some of the things that Mr. Miller said are spot on in terms of, well, obviously we saw in 2015 where it was an RFP that went out. Some of the bidders, I guess, for whatever reason, went away, and then they had a consortium of different components of different people. So at that particular point, everybody was pretty happy to hear that something was actually going to be done, and that we had a consortium of different groups on island that has the capability to do most of the work at the dump. But again, I could only imagine that each component had its own methodology in terms of how it would be done. So I guess that must have what created the delay, or that's all we can assume at this point. Like, we haven't been able to get any information that would have said anything otherwise. But when we look at and I remember from way back, and go back to what Mr. Miller said earlier in the conversation, when you talk about volume and what volume needed in order to power certain plants. One of the stumbling blocks in that regard was that we just we don't have any proper analysis of how much garbage we got going in. Anyway, from what I know, when we moved to scrap metal, the intake of garbage in the dump at the time was a guesstimation because, one, we do have a scale and a scale house system in the landfill that we could have properly weighed if it was being done right, and the powers to be who were there way back then. If they had made sure and insist that we monitored garbage coming in and out of the port, in the dump, that we would have known exactly what tonnage on average on a daily basis, so we would have been able to better design a plant that could accommodate. Obviously, you have to take growth into consideration and make sure that whatever plant or system you put in is a modular unit that it can either downsize or grow with the volume.
Right.
So we must understand that, we're not talking about a solution that haven't been tested, or we're not talking about a solution that hasn't been done, or it's brand new technology. These systems have been in place for 50 years in some places, but again, we have to be careful with mass burn units in terms of volume, what it is we burn in. Cayman is a very small place. Thank God that our winds predominantly blow in one direction. So, like yesterday's catastrophe, had that wind been blowing all over, this whole island would have been engulfed at some point.
Yeah, that had been west wind, or only at 5-10 knots. It would have really been a problem because it would have settled over the whole city.
Exactly. So thankfully that didn't occur. One of the other things too that I think that we need to pay close attention to, and at least for me, I agree with Mr. Miller. We've identified a new consortium. We've gone through the negotiation process. Like he said earlier, there's money in the budget now. Remediation should have started this month. We don't see it. Hopefully, that the listening ears that are out there are listening and working diligently to get the remediation and the early works programs up and running. From what I understand, I don't think it has anything to do with on the government side of things now in terms of from the ministry. I think it's a matter of the local consortium along with the landfill employees and those individuals who are responsible for the landfill they just need to come to an agreement and get the work started. I mean, we've been dragging our foot in this project for far too long. The methodology is there, the solution is there, the money is there. We need to get going. Obviously, last year we saw where there's been some shakeups in the ministry, and for me personally, I was like, okay, well, if we got that level of shakeup within the ministry, that means some stuff can get going. And then we seen where there was a progressive negotiations between the two parties, and we were going to get some progress. And like Mr. Miller said, we had an announcement that remediation would start in March of 2020. Now, granted, March not over yet, but we would like to see at least something being initiated and engaged within the month of March, so that we can feel comfortable knowing that, boy, look, all this talk and back and forth and negotiation has finally come to some sort of end. Because right now, we can't afford to have any more issues with that dump in terms of all of these fires. And I can tell you, I would not have wanted to be anybody who's downwind of that thing yesterday, because you know how toxic tires and all this other stuff is. You know, it's not good for anybody's health, period. So what I would like to see now is where, you know, everybody collectively come together who are in the position to get this thing moving and do away with all of the issues and sign this thing and let's go. Let's get it going, because we've had an issue with scrap metal for how long, Mr. Ezra? How long? I can tell you.
It's been an issue from the 70s.
So right now, the last shipment of metal that left this island in any great magnitude, other than the regular process recycling from various companies, was the one that I done in 2011, 10, somewhere around there, where we stacked that barge, 12-foot bin walls. I mean, that thing was almost 50 feet high. And if we had taken that approach, if we had continued that approach and not let politics get involved with it, we wouldn't have any of those issues. Because I remember when the tender went back out, we won the tender because the companies that stood up, they brought it back into CTC, and it was a pile of foolishness. And we found ourselves on a treadmill. And now we are at a point again, once again, here we are. Let's put aside all that has transpired in the past, but we can't change that. Let's focus on the problem at hand, the methodology, the consortium. Let us all collectively put the necessary pressure to get this project moving, because it's in the best interest of this country and everybody in it. And that's all that should be at focus right now. So I agree with you 100%, and this is what we need to do, and we need to continue.
But the person that needs to do that is the minister responsible, needs to come out and talk to the public and tell us what's happening and seek our support in getting it done.
Yeah, and that's why you just said it. So hopefully the minister listening, and hopefully all of those who are in position to better inform the public on what's going on.
Yes, sir.
Hopefully we can get some information. But anyway, again, great topic, and we should only talk about the dump when it catch a fire. Because it's a problem.
Everything is crisis management. That's the problem.
Yeah. Have a good afternoon.
All right.
You too, and thank you very much for sharing. Mr. We do have another call online. Good afternoon. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, good afternoon to you, Sterling, and good afternoon to Mr. Miller.
Good
afternoon, sir.
How are you doing?
Fine. How are you?
Not bad. For the most part, thank God. Enjoying the little day off, you know. But I want to chime in.
Listen, there, we gotta be careful now. People don't start setting the dump fire just get a day off, you know. I'll just be, we probably shouldn't make joke or something that's so serious.
But we need laugh sometimes.
Yeah, a little bit of levity. Yeah. And I know you need a little encouragement having sat in traffic so long. You see, us coming from North Side and East End, we so used to sit in traffic that's when we do most of our work.
Yeah.
That's an everyday thing for
yeah.
But
when Mr. Sterling complains about 1 hour, I tell him, I used to be talking to me about 2.5 hours to get to town. You know?
15 minutes, Bobo.
I can talk to you then. But I want to chime in a little bit, and I don't want to get involved with the whole notion of what we should have done some time ago, and all those things. Those things are all obvious, and I think a lot of the callers are already addressing them. But today kind of highlighted for me more than anything else. I just happened to drive by there again. Going into town, I had to take care of something, and I went across there last night, and it was as many people or anybody who got to see it would have been able to see it. It was almost impossible to see going across the road right in front of the huge KFC, and that onslaught obviously continued through the night continually. So the past 12 hours thereabouts, the Watlers Road area has been seeing just a relentless amount of smoke. And I drove by there when I was going into town, so that would have been about, 2 hours ago thereabouts, by the time I made it to that area, and it was just continual. Now, I did something in central Georgetown, and I was there for a little while, and then on my way back, and I captured some photos of it, the smoke appears to be, and I guess the people in Watlers Road, if that's the case, because obviously I only got a moment in time, they must be a little thankful, and hopefully there's nobody still left there. That's another thing, but it appears to be shifting, the smoke appears to be shifting a little further south. So I could barely see Kirk supermarket as an example, just to give you an idea about where it appears to be shifting. That, in my mind, tells me that a lot more people in the Eastern Avenue area needs to be considered. And perhaps is the driving reason why I'm calling. We've had the South Sound fuel station situation. We've had the earthquake challenges, not just the big one, the last one. We had the tsunami thing that took place a year before that in the night where people wasn't sure that was the one that was off of Honduras. We've had a number of major incidents, and for the most part, this country is left, the people of this country are left scrambling, trying to decide who's what, where, and when. And we have a dedicated, let me acknowledge that, we have a dedicated group of civil servants, volunteers and otherwise, who sit on, whether it's hazard management, whether all the other emergency committees and the whole nine, and all the names right now, I can't remember them, that do an excellent job. This is not an indictment on them. My strong suggestion, though, Mr. Miller, and I don't know, perhaps if this can be pushed, or maybe somebody is listening that can get this going, there needs to be some sort of major communication that takes place, whether it's the RCIPS, so for example, the chief of police, when they were talking about 90 people had to be taken out of Watlers Road last night. We know that particular area and how very difficult it is for most of those people anyway, just to leave their little toupee bags and a croco sack. No indictment on them, but that's all they have. We know the challenges. I think about the police that I saw riding around there a while ago with his sirens going, and I thought I was in Europe because it was one of those, I thought I was in London. And he didn't have any mask on. I think about the police that I saw driving through there last night, and if the officers were really going door to door, I would hope that they had some sort of breathing device, because I couldn't even see, and I was on the road. I had on lights. There needs to be some sort of communication, whether, again, I was going to use the example of the chief of police. When these incidents happen, we don't have a TV station anymore. Whether it is coming in, they know part of the plan is to come to Radio Cayman, and the entire country can tune in, because we know there's a major incident happening, and we're getting these live updates. There's coordinated efforts. We can't have this kind of haphazard where our people are in danger in many instances. And thank God, and some levels for social media in that regard, where people can at least get some messages out to their friends and family or whatever. It shouldn't be about whether CNS is covering it good or who gets there first. That's not how this country needs to operate. We no longer have 20,000 or 25,000 people here. We have 70,000 thereabouts population. And if we're going to have a national disaster plan, then part of it has to be communication. We're lacking on that. We're not talking about the excellent updates that they give post the event or an hour into it, and I'm going to give you another broadcast. No, our elderly is not on social media. I mean, what does it take to make that part of the plan, where somebody has been tasked with the duty of something major is happening, we're going to get all the information we need, we're going to be live here in 10 minutes, and in 15 minutes we're going to give another update because now the police are standing into that person or that group of people or whatever. We need to have that as part of the plan. This up in the air, we're not sure. I read things last night where people were saying, well, the people in Watlers Road were evacuated. Somebody came back on. This is on something I was reading on social media. No, that's not true. They're just playing with it. This is rubbish. This is craziness. So right now, when I think about and what triggered the thought was, as I said, if the winds are shifting further south, we understand there were a great many people in Watlers Road that were cleared, and hopefully so, because I couldn't take that for 3 minutes, much less 12 hours. I truly hope they weren't just say, would you like to leave? I truly hope they were told, you need to leave. And that has to be part of our response mechanisms where those sort of things happening. And obviously, tools and equipment for people like the police department, sometimes we don't know about some of these things until they happen. We don't know we have a need of something until it happens. So we didn't know we needed a microwave until it was created. So that maybe the police didn't know that they'll probably need breathing apparatus until now we have a dump fire. But those are the sort of things that I think as a country now with 70,000 people, and you know, it's bad enough trying to coordinate all us KMI and think about all of our visitors, all those kind of situations. It was nice to see at least one officer at one of the stoplights, the one on the West Bay Road there by the Pizza Hut. That was kudos. But it's that kind of, you know, wrong word. It's the missing link. We need some communication that is on time, live while it's happening. It's not about personalities getting on social media and all those kind of things. You know, I'm grateful to be able to help where and when I can, based on a number of outlets that I have. But that's not the country. The country needs to really bring together a coordinated plan to do with communications, whether, as I said, whether it's the chief of police or obviously for a major incident, or somebody very senior in a communications role where they're live and they're giving this country update. As I said, we no longer have TV, which was a very useful tool. So now we're relying on radio, the next best, in my view. Let's just do a little better in that area, man, because this is crazy. And I truly hope that somebody is truly monitoring the amount of smoke and where, if the winds are shifting, whether other people need to evacuate and that they're actively doing that. I don't know who's responsible for it, but God bless them if they're doing it, man. That's just my thoughts, guys.
Now, with that, let's just pause and take a short break.
2020 means perfect vision. And if you have your sights set on driving a new hybrid, then the time is now to check out the new RAV4 and CHR. Just two of the many hybrid models that Vamped is bringing to Cayman. Whether you're looking for a smoother and quieter way of driving or want a car that maximizes fuel efficiency while minimizing emissions, there are lots of ways a new hybrid from Vamped can make the difference in your life. Hybrids save fuel, run cleaner, reduce CO2 emissions, and even recharge their batteries without being plugged in. So focus your 2020 vision on a new hybrid from Vamped Motors, and we will see you through. Come to Vamped, home of the hybrid, located on Walkers Road. Your Radio Cayman 6 p.m. news, Monday through Friday, is brought to you by Logic. Your life connected. At Canine Resort and Spa, your dog gets the red carpet treatment. That's why people trust us and pets love us. Offering doggy daycare, boarding, training, and grooming services for any breed, size, or style. From head to tail, we'll make your dog smile.
Choose from 4 grooming packages, from the basic bronze package of a hydrobath, shampoo and conditioner, wash and blowout, to the platinum package including spa services like a doggy massage and berry facial. Canine will help your pet look picture perfect. Receive a loyalty card where your 6th grooming package is free. Limited availability.
Visit canineresort.com for details on grooming packages, doggy daycare, and resort services. Canine Resort and Spa, where the posh dogs go.
Talk to Dick.
But I do have some questions.
Talk to Dick.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk to Dick.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Afternoon, welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you so much for joining us in the studio, MLA, Mr. Ezra Miller. As we go to our phones, welcome. Thanks for calling. Hello, good afternoon.
This is Roger Marin calling.
Mr. Marin, sir, how are you, sir?
Not bad, how are you?
Very thankful, sir. Thank you for sharing with us.
Ezra today?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, anyway, afternoon, Ezra.
Good.
Well, I'm going to be quick. Basically, what we're calling about is we had another crisis today with the traffic, and the bad part about it is, I work here for the taxi. I went this morning and I got one trip from the dock at about, I don't know, to Saturday, and I talked to the beach, and it took me 45 minutes to get to the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got down West Bay Road, I saw the traffic line up all the way down by Renaissance, so I live in West Bay, so I decided not to go back because I can't move.
Right.
And we had like 6 or 8 flights coming between 11 and 12:30. Right, so I can imagine that very little taxi at the airport. For people to get out of there, it's bad enough when the roads are open, it wasn't closed. We keep forgetting about tourism with these traffic things. And somebody called me early, right after some lady that knows me, that drives the cab, and she said, Roger, come on up, because she says, hotels need cabs to get people to the airport. People are walking the street with their suitcases trying to get to the airport. Now, this is a serious thing when it comes to tourism. They know that when this dump catches fire in the road, that'll be blocked. What a traffic crisis we got. You got 5 cruise ships in. You got about 14 flights that came between 11 o'clock and 1:30. I ain't gone yet. It doesn't make sense to go. Because according to the radio, the traffic is still backed up to Charlton on 7 Mile Beach Road all the time. I just saw guys at Foster he had to come off the road because you can't get anywhere. And tourists must be stuck all over the place. I would think in a situation like this, government should shut down schools and some offices and stuff and deal with tourism. Because it's actually really the revenue walking the streets with suitcases in their hand.
Yeah.
And this is not the first time it happened. When the how Barabanu and Fire Street, sometimes I have to call the police station and remind them that we are running people from the airport to the beach because they block the roads for that and cause a traffic problem.
Right.
So I just, it's still going on. People are still trying to get up and down and can't move. Tourists are still at the airport, like still coming in, but there's no sense in me going. I can't get there. So that's something that, and I tried calling the government, building deputy offices and everybody. I think that's my voicemails. And
they never showed up for work. They took a day off.
Yeah, but that's what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
But we right now, we have to be very careful with our tourist product.
I agree. But this is why I'm saying that and roads is not the answer. We need to have some form of organized mass transportation, and I've said it's time to bite the bullet and put in on a bow rail, monorail from countryside in Savannah to a four-way stop in West Bay with a loop around town and a loop around the airport.
Yeah, well,
and if Uncle Dart won't do it, we give him a loop around Cayman Bay.
Yeah, but I said I agree with Warden McLean some time ago. Let's shut immigration doors with us now and leave it to March June.
Well, I said that a long time.
I heard him talk about it in the next 20 years how 200,000 people here. Can you imagine Cayman with 200,000 people?
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'll be here. I really don't want to be, to be frank with you. But anyway, it's something that, whoever in the house will be, you all got to get the things organized here now because it's getting really bad, Anyway, that's why I want to mention Ezra to that to you.
No problem. I agree with you. We make a lot of sense, but we don't have our priorities right.
Yeah. Hey, thank you.
Exactly. And we keep going ahead with more planes. The planes had to go to Jamaica last Saturday to land in Jamaica because they had no parking here. They keep going ahead without any infrastructural plan.
Right.
Well, anyway.
Thank you for listening, and be safe on the roads if you're there, sir.
Yes. Yeah, man, but I'm on the road.
Thanks. Mr. Miller, a couple of things I could just maybe share with you and to the listening public. I try to hopefully say that it doesn't sound anything other than just factual. And hopefully don't seem dismissive of the people who've sent things through. A couple of points, just taking them in order. Says the Honorable Premier was the minister who had responsibility for the dump in 2014-15 to 19. So, the issue was there. Even though he wasn't a health minister, the dump fell under his responsibility. Another person said, have we looked at the cost of traffic today? They've done a couple of scenarios. I won't get into them, but just quickly, say if you were to take the amount of hours that people were in traffic, times the minimum wage, times the estimated number of people, that would come to millions of dollars just in lost revenue, because presumably employers will have to pay employees trying to get to work. We know they're stuck in traffic, right? But then the impact on the economy, the perception to the tourists and the like, forget about the quality of the enjoyment, but what is this going to cost us? Will we be able to quantify it? Another person says, is it possible to utilize, for instance, as they put it, the air operations unit, brackets, the RCIPS helicopter, in helping to direct the flow of traffic, not just they're taking nice videos, is that a service, right? One other person messages and shares that, in addition to official media, sadly we need to be cognizant that people will take information from anywhere. So how do we have a coordinated effort so that it doesn't serve as propaganda, but serves as, as a country, this is where you go, recognizing the change in society. a number of concerns are being expressed by a number of people. I'm not sure, so it's...
Well, I mean, the problem with the traffic, you don't go to helicopter, because you can't send it away. You only got one road. You only got one road from West Bay, right? You only got one road from the eastern districts, although it diverts as far as Hirsch Drive now, and the plan to divert it further up the road. But it all comes to the same spot by Hurley's, right? And I'm not one of those who believes that we can build roads and continue to import cars at the rate at which they're imported, and we can just keep building roads to accommodate these cars. Every country in the world that I'm aware of have had to grapple with the idea and have had to go to mass, some kind of mass transport of people movers, you know. And we don't have no choice here. We have to do the same thing. Ours is still, I believe, at a level that's manageable, but we can start now.
But
right?
Okay,
you know, Cedric wrote a book out of Trinidad called "Winner Takes All." Right, and one of the things that he said was that the British government had started a railway network in Jamaica and in Trinidad, right? And imagine how much less their carbon footprint would be, and how much they would have saved in developing roads if the governments after independence had continued to develop the railways as a form of mass transportation and improve them, as opposed to bending to their supporters who wanted the privileges to import cars and sell cars and make money, right? And you have to wonder, you know. And I think we have to make some serious decisions on the importation of cars. But the other thing is that I find unacceptable is the speed, the time it takes to get a decision made in the government.
Yeah.
A year ago, we had a motion taken to Parliament asking for this. They have made their report. I think that took much too long, because length of time to study something, and it does not necessarily improve or increase the result being more accurate you get. You got to put the effort in, and most times, if you put the effort in a short time, you get a better result, because all of the information is fresh in everybody's mind. If you put some effort in this week and some at a couple of months down the road, you tend to have forgotten what you were doing before.
Yes.
And now that we've had the report out, right? Why haven't we started to implement it?
All right. When we come back from the break, maybe we can talk about those things. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio K-Man.
It's only 2 species that we have here on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice. For today's biggest news. Access to information.
Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom team.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm April Cummings. The latest official update from Government Information Services says the Esterly-Tibbetts Highway from Butterfield Roundabout to Cost You Less remains closed, although officials are hoping to bring that closure further south to Camana Bay as soon as possible in order to alleviate traffic. The Cayman Islands Fire Service and Department of Environmental Health and police are still on the site at the Georgetown landfill, with crews focusing on the largest sector of the fire that is in the middle of the site. Chief Fire Officer Paul Walker says the teams are hoping to make a significant impact on the fire. We'll advise on the latest information as we receive it. In international news, stocks went into a deep slide today on Wall Street as a combination of coronavirus fears and a crash in oil prices spread alarm through the market, triggering the first automatic halt in trading in more than 2 decades to let investors catch their breath. The price of oil sank nearly 20% after Russia refused to roll back production in response to falling demand, and Saudi Arabia signaled it will ramp up its own output. While low oil prices can translate into cheaper gasoline, they also wreak havoc on energy companies and countries that count on petroleum revenue, including the number 1 producer, the U.S. The clash between giant oil producers came as Italy, the country hardest hit by the coronavirus in Europe, began enforcing a lockdown against 16 million people in the north, the heart of its manufacturing and financial industries. The turmoil is expected to push Italy into recession and weigh on the European economy. Tensions in Italy's overcrowded prisons erupted today over new coronavirus containment measures, with riots in at least 24 lockups and the deaths of 6 inmates who broke into an infirmary and overdosed on methadone. Those are your headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom. I'm April Cummings.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
King Sports Center takes pride in being more than just an ordinary gymnasium. For 14 years, their multi-purpose facility has been providing the community with a variety of sporting, recreational, and relaxation activities. King Sports Center has a bowling alley, lounge bar, multi-purpose rooms, powerhouse gym, rock climbing wall, bungee jumping, a 10,000 square foot rink, and so much more. For more information on the variety of services, call their friendly staff today at 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
Preventing dengue is as simple as preventing mosquito bites. Use a mosquito repellent, wear protective clothing, and stay indoors during early dawn and dusk when mosquitoes are most active. Control the places around you where mosquitoes breed. Remove stagnant water in outdoor and household settings. As a weekly habit, persons should change the water in vases, clear the water in saucers under potted plants, and ensure air conditioner drip trays are free of stagnant water. Outdoor objects capable of holding water should be kept empty and preferably disposed of or put into dry storage if not used. These include open bottles and tins, watering cans, buckets, empty paint tins, and old vehicle tires. Do your part to control the spread of dengue. The dengue virus is an infectious disease transmitted through mosquito bites. Symptoms may come on as early as 4 days or as late as 3 weeks following an infection. There is no vaccine or specific medication to treat dengue. Symptoms of dengue include high fever, headache, pain behind the eyes, joint and muscle pain, and rash. If persons have any of these symptoms, they should go to the nearest health center or hospital. It is advised to drink lots of liquids and avoid medication that contains aspirin.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you for joining us, and again, thanks to MLA Mr. Ezra Miller for sharing with us. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Sir, we do have another caller. Good afternoon. Welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. And a special hello to Ezra, your guest.
Hello.
And, yes. I'll first chime in on the bit that Ezra spoke on about the importation of vehicles, etc. And this morning, I know he had a panel on there, and I tried to get on to ask a question, or I don't know if it would be a question or suggestion, but sadly to say, I was told, just in talking a few weeks back with someone that is in charge of, the importation when people are moving into the country, like people that bring in stuff for people. Mm-hmm. And I was told that onslaught of permits from and outside the country, Canada, and everybody that is moving, not just coming with house things, they're bringing a vehicle. And, most of those major cities around the world, kids drive younger than we do in Cayman. So if they had a family of 6 or a family of 4, a vehicle is coming for every child that can drive that is of that age, like 4 or 5 vehicles. And I said, really? With just being an announcement prior to when we were having this conversation, there's like over 6,000 and odd new vehicles that came into the country last year. And I said, no wonder we're floored. Yet we have licensed importee companies that can bring in cars. So you would think that then on work permit issues and on things like that, there will be a time when they start to say, well, yes, one vehicle per family can enter the country because you can buy your cars on the island. At least that'll be a little revenue for some of the people that sell vehicles. I just wanted to throw that out.
Right.
I think it is ridiculous that we are having to put up with all of this and whatnot. Now, really what I was calling about was the dump or the fire that is existing right at this moment. This morning, I took my grandson to work after 3, 4 o'clock in the morning because he works at the airport. And the smoke was so strong that literally we both started to cough from down beyond KFC. It was, because we went that route after we heard during the night that the other road that we normally take was closed. But sadly, that was so bad that instead of going up then through Kirk's, we took then straight into town, and the whole way we coughed. Now, I am on my way going to get him now because he's off duty. And it is worse than when I went this morning at 5, within 3, 4 o'clock in the morning before 5 o'clock.
Yes, well.
So I'm really wondering what is happening, and my heart goes out to all of the people within those vicinities that are living, working, or whatever in there. Now, I also wanted to speak and endorse some of the things that my good cousin Dwayne brought up. I really, really have been thinking about this a long time, and I was going to call you personally, Dwayne, to talk to you about it. I know we have the hazard management team here, but we also have had, in the last few months, so many natural disaster scares and shocks and whatnot. And I've yet had or heard of any group, anyone going in. And my biggest fear and worry is because I got young grandchildren into primary schools and whatnot, and they're fearful and nervous with these things from Hurricane Ivan. If they see one few days of rain, they're upset and worrying, is it going to be a hurricane? So I really wonder if there's any way that maybe Ezra can suggest it, but due to the hazard management, I'm not going to say that they are not as qualified, but we know around the world there's people that are specifically trained in these things. Get a delegation that can come and speak to the country. Have it that you having, if one is specializing in earthquakes, one specializes in this type of disaster, because we're getting everything, and it's all through the global changing of the world and everything that's going on. And speak to us, but most of all, to go into our schools to try to help teach and educate our little children what to do in the event of national disasters.
Indeed. Good suggestion. Hey, thanks very much. And that, Mr. Miller, we do have the other caller. Welcome. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Hi, good afternoon, Dwayne.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you today?
I am very thankful. I'm calling because, you keep on getting these photos of the situation at the dump. And whilst yesterday evening it was an inferno, it doesn't seem to be that way now. The smoke has certainly decreased. I don't see where, of course, I don't make the decision, but I don't see where the necessity to have the closure still exists. And someone needs to make a decision, because the traffic is ridiculous. And I heard one of your earlier callers calling regarding the tourism sector. Right.
But for what it's worth, right, continue sharing for what it's worth. I have 4, I just went back, as you said, that messages asking the same question. Is it still necessary to have the roads closed at this point? This one writes, will it be reassessed and how quickly? So I just want to let you know you're not alone in that
The
thought
notice
process.
this morning was going to be reassessed at 12 o'clock. We haven't heard anything about it. It's after 2 now, so taking a long time to write that little press release.
Yeah. But just to support what you share, others have also messaged the same thing. Sir?
Suggesting that basically not to use the highway up until the Butterfield roundabout. Now, the Butterfield roundabout, as far as I am aware, the Butterfield roundabout is the one before the Strand.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why not utilize that piece of road all the way up until you get by Cayman Bay? Allow the traffic, then you got the block set up there. Allow the traffic then to merge up back onto West Bay Road. That's giving you more, allow the street light there to work and perform its functions. And that will assist, but it's always this big knee-jerk reaction when things like this happen.
Well, someone messaged asking if it is possible that, and I presume, hopefully I read it correctly, that what would be the southbound lane on between those roundabouts, with one lane going north, one lane going south, slow moving, police monitored traffic. If you can't use the ordinarily, or I guess that should be the northbound lanes if you can't use the southbound one, just temporarily.
You should be able to use one going one way and back.
One going,
coming the other way, make it one way.
I mean, they really got.
It doesn't seem to be. There does not appear to be any dynamic consideration of on-the-spot evaluation and adjustments being made to try and alleviate the horrible traffic thing that we have.
Mm-hmm.
We seem to have made a decision and we're going to wait until the smoke stops before we look at it again.
Exactly.
That could be Friday.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
You all have a good day.
And thank you too for sharing. And that caller just want to support the others for whatever reason. It may be more convenient. They were on the same thing. I had made a note to ask of you, not to put you in the spot.
But you see, again, I think that the whole hazard management system seems to be gotten caught up in red tape, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before we had different departments of government, and you would have thought that the purpose, as I understood it, of hazard management legislation was to put somebody at the pinnacle who was going to coordinate all this stuff and get it all done.
Mm-hmm.
Now it seems like everybody's waiting on that to be coordinated rather than doing their work.
Yeah.
And I think it's the people are complaining about what they're facing out there. So let's make some decisions on the spot.
We've got 8, and I want to say that just the number 8 individuals who've messaged said, okay, they got notified that if their child attends this school, it's going to be closed. If they're a civil servant, identify your respective person, whichever. But some may have a child at a private school. Now, one person messaged and said, okay, I know that child A isn't going to school because she attends this one as a government school, but child B is at this private school. Now, midday, I get notified, or earlier, come pick up your child, we're closed. School's going to be closed in 2+ hours. How am I going to get from work to get the child get back to work? So why isn't it that either the schools were open or they were all closed? That's just paraphrasing what the frustration is.
Again, it should be, in my view, it shouldn't be left to the individual schools to make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that hazard management should be doing consultation with the health professionals. And 6 o'clock this morning, a decision should be made to close all schools in the area.
Yeah, we knew last night.
Downwind period.
Right. I mean, they can close the sandbar.
I can see that the one in a mile and north side doesn't need to be closed, right? But I mean, anything else in this area, and there's always the possibility. Well, all the old people will tell you that the wind hardly goes anti-clockwise, but it's out of the north and northeast now.
Mm-hmm.
It's not likely to come back unless you go all the way around.
Right.
But,
Yeah. We do have another caller, sir. We're speaking to MLA Ezra Miller. Good afternoon. Welcome. You're on Talk Today. Hello. Good afternoon. Yeah, hello. Huh. There you are. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Afternoon. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, and you all?
All right. Thanks for calling.
Okay. Calling in concern of the bypass where the caller was talking about previously.
Mm-hmm.
Despite the fact that the suggestion that you made, it can work, but unfortunately there's a lot of smoke still going across the lake side, so that won't help.
Okay.
Seeing anywhere far than say 5 or so 10 feet ahead of your car, it's impossible at times.
Okay, and how is Eastern Avenue as well? Because the caller prior said that Eastern Avenue area was quite smoky. Do you know?
Yeah. Well, I crossed there earlier on, and that, but I know in the immediate area right next to the fence of the dome, which is lakeside, so that wouldn't happen. Not for now, maybe a few more hours or maybe next day. You're not too sure, but
yeah. So that stretch of road between the Butterfield roundabout and that Commander Bay roundabout, or whatever that was called, you said that's quite the visibility is what, inches ahead here?
Right. Approximate the lakeside, emergency vehicles passing there and have to creep just to make sure that there's no other emergency vehicle coming up the other lane.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thank you for sharing,
Yes, sir.
All right, be safe out there.
Yeah. All right, thank you, man. Take care.
But it gets back to the call on about communications. I mean, I would have been happy to give up my time here today to hazard management to come sit here and be giving real-time reports on what's going on, so that the people need to know. You need to talk to the people.
I mean, Radio Cayman, not because I work with them, but because for me, I still believe that it's the most credible, all right?
Yeah.
Updates all along. No, I wasn't getting them just because I'm employed there. I'm got a radio on, but it's also the way, I think, as one of the callers shared, a lot of our populace, especially elderly.
The other thing that I would be concerned about is the medical people capturing this smoke and to test it for toxicity, so we may know how to treat people who get problems with it down the road. To find out what kind of toxic substances are in it, and all that kind of thing needs to be analyzed. They should be doing that maybe every hour, gathering some of it so that they can analyze it. And
can we do that, sir? Do we have that capacity there? To your knowledge?
Well, we should. As far as I know, they have a certain amount of spectrophotometry at the hospital, which should be able to identify the elements in it and what's toxic and what's not toxic.
Well, I tried to navigate around it as best I could, like everybody else who's stuck in it when you were. But there was a smell, even though I would close
But even
the
if they
windows.
have to send it abroad, we should be monitoring it. We should be, in my view, certainly.
Right. Well, we do have some calls online, and we'll just in seconds press that button and connect the two wires and put on the alligator clip. Let's try it again. Good afternoon, welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Hello, good afternoon.
Afternoon, Rambo. How are you?
Good afternoon, Mr. Miller. Rambo speaking.
Good. Yeah, man, how you doing?
Yeah, right here. I can't complain. I don't mean an alarmist this afternoon, right? Who agree or disagree with me, right? But listen, in these times or contemporary era, uniformity is a necessity perception. Right? Listen, despite how the smoke dissipates, the highly potential, extremely hazardous. So where I'm from? Trash more, right? That's an existing name, nominal. Right? We can't keep on anticipating this. Right? I don't rewind the clock, right? But listen, from 2009 election, right? The UDP government were a part of it, right? At the time. They were sending million acres, that facility, right? Not a rival part of PPM, though, right? But he resigned over the weekend. Not my backyard, front yard, side yard, or whatever. Listen, it's my opinion, right? Sterling, Mrs. Miller, it's my philosophy, my contemporary manner, live and learn, that's my intuition.
Yeah.
That's how I operate now. Who know me? Yeah, no, yeah, I'm still right. In different, like I say again, every district should have their own facility. Because that capacity is full. Sterling, even last year when they studio, I showed them photos are done.
Right.
I showed like six photos, remember? But I forgot to mention it through, like, we had all the callers and things, right, at the time. But listen, every district should have their own dump. Right, you imagine, I used to work up north side, east end. People drive all the way down from there, the organized station, to load up there. Huh? So you lads facility for mulch or something. You see where I come from? Little minor things like that now. Yeah? All I say now, it's a leap year, a lot of change in the wind. So you should prepare for the worst. Right? And I got finally say, imagine now, you got 3 candidates in 2020 US election. 3 of the 70s in the Caucasian. Right? In 8 years Obama. So you saw come from diversity. Look into that. Oh, good day, gentlemen.
You too, sir.
Okay, man.
And we take one more call, Ms. Susan. Good afternoon, welcome.
Yes, good afternoon. You ready for me now?
We are, ma'am. We are.
Okay. I had to say to myself on this morning, it's a pity that we lost our wonderful former Chief Fire Officer, Kirkland Nixon. Because if he was on hazard management and here with some of these certain things that are going on that he used to deal with, the public would be a lot better informed and more action would be taken. And everybody could feel more at ease. I'm sorry, but I don't think hazard management are as qualified as he was. That's my contribution to know.
All right. Thanks very much. And, Mr. Miller, as I listen to what the callers are sharing, with great respect, sir, I appreciate it always when people are sharing their information with us. And there are a lot of people who are questioning, how information is disseminated. This one writes and says, with hazard management, if there was a functioning properly, information could be disseminated through them, but unfortunately, getting alerts for tsunamis and the like correct in a timely manner have proved difficult in the past. This one writes, it seems more that the government is interested in, and I was trying to figure out how to rephrase this, because sometimes our listeners are very astute in their choice of words, but basically saying, government seems to be more putting out a propaganda, and that's being polite, if I interpret these words correctly, as opposed to send information to say the people. With respect, sir, guide me in this one. This person writes and says, is it possible that as a country we make a decision now, listen, stay home, because on the roads you're not going anywhere, you're putting yourself and others in harm's way, you're hindering the movement of emergency vehicles that are necessary. Now, I'm just thinking, that's easier said than done. Now, granted, let's not go out and gawk and look and see, but is this a case where the country now needs to employ some sort of, I don't want to say emergency powers, but some sort of directive? Hey, listen, stay indoors. It would be akin to...
I mean, I don't know what the private sector is doing, but I was notified very early this morning by the deputy governor, who's head of the civil service, that they would be taking a very soft approach if people didn't get to work today because of the fire and stuff like that. No, I don't think he could actually say, well, you can all stay home. Because there would be some who don't go in that way now, but would say, well, I need a day off too. But I just got an update here from the 2 p.m.
Yes, sir.
And it says that the Sterling Tibbetts Highway is no longer closed from Cape Manor Bay to Cost-U-Less. The reopening of that section has greatly improved traffic flow.
Yeah.
And it is hoped that a decision about the complete route of the highway can be made by mid-afternoon. The decision depends on how much reduction in smoke crews can achieve. But I agree with you, it's going to a lot of it is going to require on people who not make the necessary movements.
Yeah. And it is challenging, but I think, as a number of callers alluded, this is unprecedented in a sense. If you live in a place that's subject to, say, landslides because of rain or other weather conditions, you may be more prepared. If you live in a place that perhaps, because of active volcanoes, you may have the mask, you may have other things. Now, it could be, as changing dynamics, it could be all sorts of things. With respect, then, in the sense of not only pointing fingers and asking those in position to accept responsibility and exercise respectful authority, is there something more that we're missing? The populace isn't 60 or 70,000, it's whatever that number is, plus, there are 4 cruise ships in harbour today, maybe an additional potential of 20,000 people, whatever that number is. So at one point in time, we're probably over 100,000 easily that are within our realm of responsibility. What are we missing? How do we get this thing better?
I think we need to learn from these experiences, right? But we need to make the adjustments quickly. And the Hazard Management Committee needs to be, in my view, more nimble. And all the people involved in it and make decisions real time, I think it was interesting to also see an update that one cruise ship had decided not to stop here, right? And apparently the 2 people that came off the cruise ship were critically ill, but not related to coronavirus.
According to the information.
Yeah.
Right.
And therefore they've been transported not by regular flights, but by air ambulance back to Florida.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at that information as well, and also looking at a couple of reports, not just out of California through their sort of more recognized media outlets, but even coming out of the UK relative to the cruise ship that is somewhere off Oakland, somewhere out in the California waters.
Yeah.
And then the US government sort of cautioning, or however you would want to put that, relative to cruise lines. Now, these things can have significant knock-on effects for a lot of us. Again, timing, planning, execution, and the like. A lot of interesting challenges ahead, sir.
Well, yes, and they're not going to get any smaller, and I think we need to find the resources to deal with it in a better way. I don't know. I don't have enough information. I'm not out there in the West Bay traffic. I'm not in the smoke in areas that are covered in smoke. But I do think that we need to, and I don't understand why it is taking so long to get the fire under control. Whether it's because we're down to using water, we don't have any other fire retards that we can use. There was something in some media this morning about using some other kind of fire retardant other than water. But I think we have to make those kind of contingencies, you know.
But this is where I think, you know, many times when as a populace, those who live and vote here, those who visit either short or long term, may have a perspective that, oh, this is a small place, why is everything? But this is a nation that is required to do everything that countries that have different tiers of government, from the federal to the state to the county, have to provide. That, you know, that policing that maybe, you know, supplemented by the different levels of government have to be done within one service. That level of material that we have for the aircraft, maybe we only need 1 gallon, because that's sufficient. When something like this unexpected happens, we may need 1,000 gallons. How easily sourced and accessible is it? So it's a challenge.
I don't know. I mean, again, it used to be, I don't know, that the bulldozer that they used to use at the dump to compress it had all steel, not tires, but steel movement. All the stuff that moved it along were all steel. Whether it was a track or whether it was these big circular things. I don't know what the situation is now, whether what they have there has rubber tires on it and therefore it can't go near the fire. I don't know whether there may be safety concerns because, you know, there's a possibility that there may be some methane in some of that areas that could explode. I mean, it's kind of open, but, you know, you never know, things can get trapped.
Yeah.
So I believe that the firemen have to obviously operate with a certain amount of caution.
Exactly.
And would be much more knowledgeable in what is best to do about it, right?
And we can imagine...
But it does seem that this is not the first dump fire we've had.
Right.
And it does seem that each time we get a fire, it's a bigger fire, and it takes longer to get it out.
Right.
So something is wrong with that equation. This is something we're having on a regular basis. We should learn from each experience what it is that we need to have in terms of resources to better deal with the situation. You know, it shouldn't take 4 or 5 days to out a fire at the dump.
Right.
But, you know, but whatever that resources that's needed for that, we need to have it around.
Yeah. Now, I know that you have a pressing, in addition to all your, you know, sort of constitutional responsibilities as an MLA. We do have some other callers. Do you have a few minutes extra?
Yeah.
With great respect to our callers, let's take each one in as succinctly as we can. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Yes, good afternoon.
Afternoon, sir.
Dwayne. Good afternoon, Ezra.
Good afternoon.
I want to make a couple of suggestions. I've been listening to your program, and as we talk about the various problems. And let's talk about the landfill first, and that's the one that's on everybody's minds today. The first consideration is that we talk about the outer districts, and I know everything kind of went up in smoke, so to speak, when they talked about the facility out there and breakers. However, if we were to put a cost on a truckload of garbage that comes from Bordentown, Northside, and East End, it's a whole lot more than establishing, we're not talking about additional landfills, but recycling centers, properly run recycling centers in the outer districts to begin with. West Bay and Georgetown, perhaps it's kind of late for that. But I think that certainly would be a place to start where the domestic garbage there can be taken. What is recyclable can be put aside and then transported to the facility in town if we're geared for that. But I think that is one major consideration. as to the situation we have now, back in 1990, I approached the government and merely to say to them, let's look at the different options for incinerators. At that time, I also offered, I said, if you don't want to do so, that could be, a unit could be installed on a lease basis. It's scalable, that could take care of, growth that I thought would be evident. That was in 1990. And
in
back
1990,
then,
I was a minister then. I don't recall getting a proposal from you. I'm getting kind of old, but...
Okay,
because the first incinerator we bought was a medical waste incinerator. And we did drop the plans, but we didn't get to that, to making those kind of decisions before I got lost election in 92.
Okay. All right. Well, when I say to the government, I went to the Department of Environment, and I was told, no, we've looked at several other ones, we'll be doing one. That didn't happen. Even with how technology has improved today, there's numerous options, and there's absolutely no reason 30 years later that we're still dealing with the same problem.
Oh, I agree with you on that.
Okay, let's move on from that. I don't know.
The only one comment I would make about the cost of transporting garbage from the eastern districts to town, it is much more expensive and a much higher volume to transport the garbage from the high population areas of Georgetown, Savannah, and West Bay to the eastern districts. And the hotels.
Yeah.
That's why we kept that when we did that analysis in 1990. That is why we decided to keep it where it was, and I purchased the additional 48 acres onto it to allow for the growth.
I don't reckon we're going to solve that one today. But with regard to the traffic situation, in 2005, government study indicated that there were 2014. There were 38,000 vehicles moving between the Hurley's roundabout per day. And I got that data from the NRA as part of something else that we were doing. And knowing that that is the real growth area of the island from Hurley's outwards, I made the suggestion. I said, roads are fine. Let's build roads, but let's rezone from that area outwards, that we can create businesses, so it will facilitate people to work closer to home. Not everybody having to come to Georgetown for everything. Buttontown, North Side, East End, we have the land. Let's look at it now and create, commercials, light industrial zones. And there's no reason why a government can't have an office there that facilitates pretty much all the government services. But I think long before we talk about restricting the import of cars or mass transit, great idea. It's going to be hard for people to accept now that everybody's used to jumping into the car and going wherever they want. So I think serious consideration ought to be given to rezoning areas to accommodate for the growth in the outer districts, and thereby getting people working closer to home.
Okay. Thanks very much, sir. And we got two more I think we can try to take. Good afternoon. Welcome.
Afternoon.
Afternoon. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. And how Mr. Miller doing as well?
I'm good.
Well, I realize I'm on borrowed time now. I mean, it's over, so I wouldn't be keeping it long. But coming back to the situation with the virus thing there, coronavirus, if you listen to the news, I guess you probably had listened to the news recently. Italy now has quarantined like 14 million people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, what we see with the cruise ships here coming and being refused, which is sensible, I expect that is going to increase as well for the next couple of weeks, yeah. I think we can look for, not preaching doom and gloom, but zone of common sense will tell you, I think we're going to see some slowdown in visitors here. air arrivals and sea as well. So I think we should roll up our sleeves and sort of be prepared for the situation, because I don't see on the horizon that this is going to be fixed, sorted out in just a few days or a week. I think it's going to be quite some time, considerable time before it gets to handling things. And let's hope for the best, guys. So that's my little piece. I didn't want to keep too long because I know someone else is getting on and you're in overtime. So thank you so much and have a pleasant day. Thank you again.
Thank you too, sir. Thank you. And Mr. Miller, thanks for the extended time, sir.
Yep.
Certainly, always with respect to the public listener, you're always so amenable for accepting. You're always so gracious with your time, but you're also direct with sharing your perspective. So thank you again, sir.
You're welcome, sir. And thanks to the listening public for sharing and calling, because, we could get kind of bored sitting and talk to each other.
I don't think we could ever get bored having you as a companion, sir. Always good to listen to you. Enjoy it. Be safe out there as well.
Thanks.
And to our listeners, thank you very much. I trust that you will be safe on the roads. If you would forgive me for saying this and don't see it as anything other than what it is, Radio Cayman is not only the official station. It's been around, it's competent, it's credible, it's committed to ensuring that accurate, timely information. I listen to it as a citizen of this country, and all throughout the night, not because of my job, but perhaps because of my disposition. I wanted to be able to know the information I got was not only accurate and timely, but credible. I could rely on it. And I was tuned into Radio Cayman. I do it when there is, hurricanes and other things of national importance. So I've asked our public to not only use it then, but use it throughout. Access other media houses to corroborate what you're saying. But honestly, what you share and see, if it's coming from Radio Cayman, you can rely on it. And if I can say to my colleagues, if they would allow me, they've been doing a phenomenal job throughout even the on-air talent that we see from time to time, who are always sharing up with them, the music. They make time to make sure the information is out there. If you can, join me and sing a special prayer for our firefighters. I can't begin to imagine the intensity of the heat that they're feeling in and around and near the fire. The staff at the Department of Environmental Health, all of the supporting agencies. Just think of it, the police officers in uniform directing traffic. It's not July, August, or September, but I'm sure the sun is quite hot as well, and they're probably feeling it. We as pedestrians and motorists probably frustrated, sitting there thinking, understandably, I got to get to work, I got to pick up my children, those are very understandable things. If we can, let's not allow our frustrations to get the better of us. Equally, if we're driving, yes, we might get a car ahead, we might get there a few minutes early, but stay in your lane, as it were. Don't weave in and out, because you're sort of getting ahead is at expense of somebody else, and that knock-on effect could just delay people even further. If at all possible, you don't have to be on the road, stay home. But again, easier said than done. And perhaps finally, to the employers who have exercised a degree of patience with their employees trying to get to work, understandably it's an expensive ordeal. To customers who are requesting the service techs to come out, who are requiring some level of service, perhaps from their trades and others, be understanding that, we're in traffic. We just can't get there. It's not of our making. But then, as a populace, can we put a collective heads together to find solutions to workable? And it is it's a challenge. But together, I think we can make a meaningful impact, a very positive difference. And sometimes, sometimes it comes down to, what is it, we pray, God move or move me. Sometimes it comes down to change, improving, taking a different perspective. Be willing to step up and take up the mantle. It's all about everything. And as we were told earlier through a press release that was thankfully read by MLA Ezra Miller, the Sterling Dwayne Highway has now been reopened. Again, you listen, tell your friends to listen, be tuned and in tune with Radio Cayman, because you will get the information. Thank you. Be safe, be courteous, be careful, be considerate, and we'll share with you. And if anything else, if you stay on for a few extra minutes, at the very least, two things will be evident. You get to hear that very informative, soothing, calming voice of Miss Susan as she reads us the latest update about the dump fire, as it were, and who knows what interests and insights that will spark in you. See what I did there? All right. Until tomorrow, be blessed.